Gangotri National Park sits high in the Himalayas, serving as the literal cradle of the Ganges River. Its true function is a massive water tower. This network of ice feeds a river system that sustains hundreds of millions of people in the plains below. Right now, that frozen reservoir is failing. The massive Gangotri Glacier is retreating at an accelerating, highly destructive rate of over 34 meters every single year. If this continuous ice reservoir runs dry, the meltwater that keeps downstream rivers flowing during the arid summer months disappears with it. That triggers acute water scarcity, threatening the agricultural output and economic stability of the entire Indo-Gangetic plain. Ambient greenhouse gas warming is a known factor here, but recently researchers discovered that a highly localized microscopic pollutant acts as a massive catalyst multiplier. The fallout begins with the ice, but it leads to a gruesome bacterial outbreak that physically blinds wild mountain sheep. As habitats shrink, it forces an unnatural conflict between endangered apex predators and the local farmers sharing their terrain. To secure the hydrological future for millions of downstream residents, scientists have realized they first have to unravel and heal this deeply interconnected, microscopic crisis at the very top of the world. The catalyst originates hundreds of miles away in the western plains of India. After the harvest, massive agricultural stubble fires pump immense plumes of microscopic soot, known as black carbon, into the atmosphere. Prevailing winds funnel this dark particulate matter onto the pristine Gangotri Glacier, initiating albedo modification. By lowering the ice's natural reflectivity, the dark soot absorbs solar radiation directly as heat. This forces the glacier's surface to melt rapidly, even when surrounding temperatures are freezing. Human atmospheric pollution dismantles the glacier's natural thermal defenses. As the ice retreats and alters the landscape, it forces the human and animal populations below into a rapidly shrinking, highly unstable habitat. That habitat compression creates an immediate problem. As the climate warms and the local human population surges, pastoralists are forced to drive massive herds of domestic livestock higher into the fragile alpine meadows just to find grazing land. This level of overgrazing strips the vegetation bare. It also forces domestic herds into tight, direct physical overlap with native wild herbivores, specifically the Himalayan blue sheep, known as the bharal. When animals share the exact same sparse pastures, they share pathogens. A highly virulent bacterial infection jumped from the immunologically resilient domestic livestock directly into the naive wild sheep. The disease is a mutated outbreak of infectious keratoconjunctivitis. In the wild bharal, it causes severe, gruesome ocular degradation, leaving the animals completely blind with ruptured ice. In the sheer vertical precipices of the Himalayas, blindness is an immediate death sentence. The infected sheep either starve or suffer fatal falls into the gorges, abruptly wiping out the foundational prey base for the entire ecosystem. At the top of this broken food web sits the globally vulnerable snow leopard. These cats have an absolute reliance on the wild bharal to survive the harsh alpine winters. With their natural prey dying off from disease, starving snow leopards are forced to alter their behavior. They begin creeping into human settlements to hunt domestic livestock. For local herders, losing even a few domestic animals can destroy a family's sole economic asset. To protect their livelihoods, they retaliate, tracking down and killing these endangered predators. Atmospheric soot degraded the ice, compressing the mountain habitat. That compression triggered a cross-species plague, locking humans and apex predators in a zero-sum fight for survival. Traditional fortress conservation cannot stop this cascade. The only viable strategy is to overhaul the local human microeconomy. This is the exact premise of the SECURE Himalaya project. It is a massive, multi-million-dollar socio-ecological initiative designed specifically to replace destructive high-altitude pastoralism with sustainable income streams. Local communities are trained in entirely new, highly specialized industries. They learn high-altitude beekeeping, specialized local fruit processing, and harvesting wild medicinal herbs, without destroying the fragile topsoil. By making these small-scale, specialized farms more profitable than maintaining massive grazing herds, the alpine pastures are allowed to heal. The physical disease buffer between domestic and wild animals is restored, allowing the native prey base to naturally rebound. The final economic pivot involves strictly managing the human footprint through highly regulated ecotourism. Park authorities enforce rigid carrying capacities, capping the heavily trafficked trails at the glacier's snout to a maximum of just 150 hikers per day. To divert foot traffic away from the highly unstable retreating ice, the park is restoring ancient, low-impact heritage sites. Trekkers are now directed to attractions like the Gartang Gali, a 136-meter wooden skywalk chiseled directly into a sheer cliff face over a century ago. The local community is actively integrated into this new infrastructure. Over 1,000 local residents have been trained and employed as certified high-altitude nature guides. The survival of the Gangotri Glacier and its snow leopards depends on this alignment. When human economic survival is tied directly to ecological health, the local community becomes the primary force behind the landscape's preservation.